This week on DNE's Videocast, Egyptians head to the polls and debate over a referendum for constitutional amendments.
The Egyptian street right now is completely divided.
Mohammed Efat reports on fresh accusations of torture at the hands of Egypt's military. And Egypt's stock market remains closed after nearly 2 entire months.
I'm Rani Al-Malki, the editor-in-chief of Daily News Egypt. On Saturday, March 19th, the Egyptians will be voting on a referendum on 9 constitutional amendments. The most important highlight of these amendments is that they have limited the number of presidential terms any president can hold to 2 4-year terms. The street is so divided at the moment. This is the problem. If people vote yes for the amendment, then we're going to hold the legislative elections in 6 months and presidential elections a month and a half later. If people vote no, this is the big question mark. The people who are pushing for a no vote basically believe that if we agree to these amendments, then we will be reactivating the old constitution, which gives the president unlimited powers. So we will be basically creating the grounds for a new dictator to take over. There's a lot of confusion over the ramifications of this taking either path. Everybody's confused about what will lead to what. The people who think that we should vote no believe that we need to start fresh. We need to start with a constituent assembly that would create a new constitution. It's very confusing at the moment, but I believe we're on the right path. At least we're having a genuine discussion over which direction we should take, and now people believe that whatever they vote for is going to count.
Egypt's state security may be dismantled, but some wonder if human rights abuses will go on. Ismail Gamal, a 24-year-old engineer, says he was beaten and tortured while detained last week, but not by the police, by Egypt's army.
I was tortured by army soldiers and military police. They had weapons and electric shocks, which they used to torture us.
Gamal said he was detained when the military forcibly dispersed a sit-in in Tahrir last week. Over 170 were arrested that day, taken to a detention center in the world-famous Egyptian Museum, according to one local NGO. Many have come forward with their stories of abuse. Amnesty International condemned beatings and detentions by Egypt's army that day. Only around 20 of the detainees were reportedly released. Others were tried before military court and sentenced from 1 to 7 years in prison. State TV reported that detainees that day were thugs, but Gamal says most people were just average activists.
A soldier came up to me and asked me my profession. When I told him I'm a computer engineer, he sarcastically replied, "Well, then you're one of those Facebook guys." And he kept slapping me on the face until I couldn't take it anymore.
But a military officer who spoke on condition of anonymity because he was not authorized to speak to media denied that any torture had taken place. Gamal believes otherwise, showing scars and bruises as proof. And revolution or not, Gamal says Egypt has a long way to go.
This revolution is not over, and as long as there is torture practiced by the army and the military police, then there's definitely corruption, and they are covering for it.
In Cairo, Mohammed Efat for Daily News Egypt.
My name is Amira Salah Ahmed. I'm business editor of Daily News Egypt. Right now, the stock market has been closed for almost 2 months. It last traded on January 27th, and it lost $12 billion of its value on that day. The reason it's still closed right now, it's pretty vague, and it's causing a lot of confusion among both officials and investors. There doesn't seem to be a concrete reason for it to remain closed, technically speaking. By next week, if it doesn't open, it risks being delisted from the Emerging Markets Index, which basically would wipe the Egyptian stock market off investors' maps. It's a bit of a disaster when it comes to investment in Egypt. It's inevitably going to trickle down to even the average man on the street. Well, the longer the stock market is closed, the longer it's going to take for us to recover once it opens. The more it's affecting this sector of investment banks and brokerage firms. The more it's going to be harder for us to attract foreign investors later on, and the less confidence we have in officials and the decision-making process itself, because it's so unclear and very vague.
Join us next week for another DNE Videocast.